All right, let's dive into this. The soul's journey, evolving through obstacles to liberation.
Honestly, just reading the title has got me thinking, what's the point of it all?
That's a big question.
Yeah, it is. Where are we even headed with all of this?
I mean, that's the question, isn't it? And, this article, it tries to create a roadmap for personal growth using ancient wisdom.
So right away, it jumps into these 4 aims of life.
Yeah.
Purusharthas, they're called.
Yeah. Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha.
I'm not going to lie, it sounds a little intimidating.
I know, it's a bit like Sanskrit 101.
It is, but I mean, are these concepts actually relevant to, like everyday struggle?
Yeah, absolutely, they are. Like take Dharma, for instance. Think of it as your unique contribution, the thing you're meant to do.
Okay.
A lot of people, they struggle with burnout, right? Because they're chasing external markers of success, but they're not really connected to their Dharma, their inner purpose,
So like, I could be super successful, but still feel empty. Exactly. And that's where these other Purusharthas come in.
Yeah.
So like, Artha, it's not just about money, but it's about having the resources, to support your Dharma.
Yeah.
Time, energy, even skills.
Okay.
And then there's Kama.
Kama.
Yeah. Finding joy, pleasure. But it's not just about, fleeting happiness.
Yeah.
It has to align with your purpose.
Okay, got it.
And then finally, Moksha. It's the ultimate goal. Liberation from suffering.
Sign me up. But the article, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It talks about all the obstacles we face along the way.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting part. It argues that these obstacles, they're not actually roadblocks. They're more like detours.
Detour.
Maybe even like scenic routes.
Okay.
They're opportunities to learn and grow.
I like that, but how can I see an annoying coworker or an unexpected bill as an opportunity? That's tough.
And think about it this way. When you solve a really tough problem at work, sure, it's stressful. But then you feel that sense of accomplishment. Maybe you learn something new.
Yeah, I get it. So these challenges, they're like what, mental push-ups or something?
Yeah, exactly. Like the article actually talks about neuroscience and how solving problems actually changes our brains, makes us more resilient.
Wow. So bring on the challenges, I guess. But where do they even come from? Is it just bad luck or?
Well, the article looks at both ancient and modern sources to answer that. First, there's this concept called the Pancha Kleshas, which are 5 afflictions.
5?
Yeah, 5 afflictions that can create obstacles in our lives.
You're scaring me a little.
Oh, they're not that scary. And you probably recognize some of them. First, there's avidya, basically ignorance, not understanding how things actually work, like being stuck in negative thoughts without realizing it.
Yeah, I've been there.
Then there's asmita, which is our ego, that inner critic telling us we're not good enough or that we need to be better than everyone else. It's like the source of self-doubt.
Yeah, that voice is loud sometimes.
And then there's raga, that feeling of being attached, clinging to things or people or ideas, like needing something outside of ourselves to be happy.
Okay, so these are all internal struggles.
My God. Then there's avesha, the opposite of raga, like pushing away things that make us uncomfortable.
Oh, so like avoiding difficult conversations.
Yes.
Or conflict.
Exactly. And finally, yimivesha, the fear of death, clinging to life. It can manifest as anxiety or even just resistance to change.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah. And the article emphasizes that to really grow, we need to embrace change. Remember, obstacles can actually be opportunities.
Okay. But what about external sources of struggle? Like the article also talks about those, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it might feel particularly relevant in today's world. Like it talks about social media and how all that comparison can actually make these afflictions worse.
That makes sense. I mean, it's funny. It mentions a study where people actually felt less depressed when they reduced their social media use. I wonder
if maybe you should log off for a bit.
Maybe. Seriously, though, what's the takeaway? How do we actually apply this to our lives?
Well, it's about realizing that true fulfillment, it comes from within. It's about self-love and acceptance, not seeking validation from others. The article really stresses that we need to focus on what we already have, not on what we lack.
That's a good reminder. It's so easy to get caught up in that comparison game, But how do we actually make that shift? The article talks about solutions, right?
It does. A really interesting blend of ancient practices and modern strategies.
Okay, let's hear it. I'm ready for some actionable advice.
But maybe we should save that for the next segment. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do that. This is getting good. We'll be right back to explore how to overcome these obstacles and continue on our soul's journey. All right, so let's get into some solutions. We talked about, the purpose of life, the obstacles, those punch cliches. What can we actually do about all of this?
Well, the article gives us a bunch of tools, some ancient, some modern. It's about finding what works for you.
Okay, let's hear it. I'm ready for some action.
So it starts with mindfulness meditation. You probably heard of it.
Yeah.
But it's not just some trendy thing. There's tons of research that shows it can actually rewire your brain. Yeah. Help you with stress, focus, even regulating your emotions.
So it's like a workout, but for your mind.
Exactly. And you don't need any special equipment or anything. Even just a few minutes a day can help. Imagine being able to observe those negative thoughts without getting totally swept away by them.
Okay, I'm convinced. Meditation is on my list. But the article also mentions some less conventional things like Vedic astrology or Jyotish.
Right.
I'll admit, I'm a bit skeptical. How can looking at planets and stars help me with my problems?
Yeah, it's often misunderstood. It's not about predicting your future or anything like that.
Okay.
Think of it more like a personalized guidebook to your inner self. Your birth chart is based on the position of the planets when you were born, and it can reveal your strengths, weaknesses, even your purpose in life.
So it's more about self-awareness than fate.
Yeah. It helps you understand your patterns so you can make better choices.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like having a raid map, but you still get to choose where you go.
Exactly. And if you're feeling lost, Jyotish can give you some really valuable guidance.
All right, I might have to look into that. But what about external struggles? Like we were talking about social media before. Any advice for that?
It does. And it goes beyond just, deleting your accounts.
Right.
It's about being more aware of how you're using it. Like, are you connecting with people or just getting caught up in comparisons?
Yeah, that's so easy to do.
It is. And that's where gratitude comes in. The article really emphasizes that. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, appreciate what you do have.
Gratitude journaling. Got it. What else?
Well, we've got mindfulness, Jyotish, gratitude. But there's this other cool concept, Vastu Shastra.
Vastu Shastra. I've never even heard of that. What's that?
It's like the art of creating harmonious living spaces. The idea is that our environment really affects our energy, So Vastu, it involves things like decluttering, using colors and materials that create a peaceful feeling.
So it's like feng shui.
Kind of. But Vastu comes from ancient Indian traditions. And the cool thing is, there's actually scientific research that supports it.
Right.
Like studies show that a well-designed space can reduce stress and even make you more productive.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's like all these different things, ancient wisdom, psychology, even interior design, it's all connected.
Right. It's about aligning your inner and outer worlds.
I like that. So we've got mindfulness, Jyotish, gratitude, Vastu. Anything else in this toolkit?
There is. And this one might be the toughest, but also the most rewarding. Challenging your desires.
Wait, challenging my desires, does that mean giving up chocolate?
Huh. Not necessarily. It's not about denying yourself pleasure.
Okay.
It's about being more conscious of your cravings and attachments. Asking yourself if they're really serving you.
So being mindful of what I'm consuming, both literally and, I guess, figuratively?
That's it. It's about finding that balance. Enjoying life, but not being ruled by your desires.
Yeah.
Those punch of cliches we talked about. Attachment, aversion, ego. Challenging your desires is a way to loosen their grip.
This reminds me of that Einstein quote. Not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts.
I love that quote.
It's so true. Real fulfillment doesn't come from external things.
Exactly. And you might be surprised by what you discover when you start to challenge your desires. Like, what really brings you joy?
Okay, that's a lot. We've got all these tools now. But is there a specific order? Where do we even start?
That's a good question. And the cool thing is, it's really personal. There's no right or wrong answer. But I do think there's one practice that's kind of foundational.
Okay, tell me.
It all comes back to defining your purpose. Remember the Purusharthas.
Uh-huh.
Take some time to reflect on those. Like, what are your values? What brings you joy? What do you want to contribute to the world?
Right.
Once you have a clearer sense of purpose, everything else just kind of falls into place.
Yeah, it's like having a compass.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be this huge, dramatic thing. It could be something simple, like being a good friend or a dedicated artist.
I'm feeling inspired. It's like we have the power to create our own roadmap.
Yeah. And remember, it's a journey. There will be bumps, but that's all part of the process.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like I have a whole new way of looking at things.
That's great to hear. And remember, this is just the beginning.
Before we wrap up, I want to go back to the title, The Soul's Journey. What does that mean to you?
It reminds me that we're all on this incredible journey of evolution. We're all learning and growing and reaching for something more. And even though it's tough sometimes, there's so much beauty in it, so much possibility.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thanks. And, this is just the beginning. Keep learning, keep evolving.
And to all our listeners, keep exploring these ideas. See how they resonate with your own lives.
Keep diving deep. Keep searching for those aha moments.
Until next time, stay curious. Okay, we're back for the final part of our deep dive. And this Soul's Journey article, it's really given me a lot to think about, especially all those practical steps we talked about. Mindfulness, Vedic astrology, even like redesigning my living space.
It's a pretty cool toolkit.
It is. But before we wrap up, there's one more thing I want to talk about. Karma. It's one of those words you hear all the time, but I don't know if I really get it. What does it actually mean, and how does it fit into all of this?
Well, you can think of karma as this universal principle, cause and effect. Every action, every thought, it creates this ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually those ripples, they come back to us, like throwing a pebble in a pond. You get those waves that reach the shore.
So it's not about being punished or rewarded. It's more about understanding that our choices have consequences.
Exactly. It's about taking responsibility, realizing that we shape our future, not just for ourselves, but for everyone.
This reminds me of those pancha kleshas, those afflictions we talked about. Like, if I'm always acting out of ignorance or ego, I'm just creating more suffering.
Yeah, that's right. But when we act with awareness, compassion, generosity, we create positive karma. And that leads to more joy, fulfillment, and eventually liberation.
I see how it all ties together. Mindfulness helps us become aware. Joyotish helps us understand our patterns. Gratitude helps us appreciate what we have.
Right.
And Bastu, it helps us create a supportive environment.
It's all connected. And when we start to actually practice these things, it's not just about improving our own lives. We're actually contributing to this, collective positive karma. Imagine if everyone was acting with awareness and compassion.
Wow. That's a powerful thought. It's like we're all connected.
We are, and that's what's so empowering about karma. We can actually create a better future, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come.
This has been amazing. I really feel like I have a new perspective on things now.
That's great to hear. And remember, it's a journey. It's about learning, growing, and finding harmony with ourselves and the world.
Before we go, I want to touch on the title again, The Soul's Journey. It's such a powerful image. What does it mean to you?
For me, it's a reminder that we're all on this incredible path of evolution. We're all souls, learning, growing, reaching for something bigger than ourselves. And yeah, it can be tough, but it's also beautiful, full of possibility.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing all of these insights. This has been one of my favorite deep dives.
My pleasure. And remember, this is just the beginning. Keep exploring, keep evolving.
And to everyone listening, we encourage you to keep diving deep into these ideas too. See what resonates with you. All the resources we mentioned, they're in the show notes.
Keep searching for those aha moments.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.